That should be Joseph.
Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. 32 minutes past 7 p.m. It's a feel good Friday morning. You are listening to the Smooth Breakfast. My name is Ayokunmi Kekere. I'm great to be with you. It's that time to get into the world of the papers, taking a look at the major headlines making the news all around the world. This is Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast. And as always, it's an interactive session. So you can be a part of the conversation as always, by sending your thoughts in on the stories we'll be taking this morning to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0809 440 981. 0809 440 981. That is the WhatsApp number. You can also join us on the live stream out there on YouTube. That's at Smooth 981 FM Lagos on YouTube. Join the live stream and drop a comment as well. Like I said, it's an interactive session, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. And the analysts for the morning are in the building. Joining me this morning on Freshly Pressed are AB Bozimo and, of course, Joseph Obari. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Ayo.
Ayo. Good morning, Joseph. Good morning to all of the wonderful listeners out there.
Good morning, listeners. Welcome to the show. It's nice to be here again. Happy
Yes,
weekend.
indeed. It's great to have you on a Feel Good Friday. The weekend is upon us, but before then, a lot to sink our teeth into and, of course, make some sense of. So we're going to start this morning in the Punch newspaper, where, of course, it has made the rounds in the last 24 or less than 24 hours or thereabouts, talking about the minimum wage. And as we all know, 70,000 naira has been accepted as the new minimum wage, and that will be passed on to the floor of the hallowed chambers on Tuesday for assent. But the NLC have said why they accepted 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage. Joseph, I'm going to come to you on this one, but let me just take a little excerpt in that story. Now, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, on Thursday, that's yesterday, gave reasons why the organized labor accepted the proposal of 70,000 naira minimum wage from President Bola Tinubu. Now, another reason was, or the main reason was the incentives that were attached to that particular offer. Now, I'm just wondering, we know what these incentives are. I'm going to bring you in on this one now, but are those incentives, should I say, weighty enough to actually backtrack from 250,000 they were demanding to 70,000 that has been accepted right now?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, what has happened just revealed that labor has never been realistic. I mean, I've always held that labor was not realistic in negotiating this minimum wage by asking for the figures they were asking. Well, they are giving reasons why they're accepting this and that, but at the end of the day, it's like they were holding carrots, tantalizing carrots before the eyes of workers. Doing things, and then you raise their hopes, and then eventually, after all the dramas, you eventually accept 70,000. Mind you, this is a government that has always gone back on promises it's made to workers. So I don't know how Ajero feels persuaded that the same government is going to pay whatever it's promised to pay. There are even some the 36,000 naira, whatever that was supposed to be paid to workers in some states for some. It's been an issue. I mean, it's been like they were not paid. The government never pays. So we see a situation where eventually we're going to have these issues coming up. Oh, government, you promised this and you didn't pay us. Yeah, so I don't, as far as I'm concerned, labor has always been too dramatic. They are just they look for opportunities to flex their muscles and show. At the end of the day, really nothing concrete come out. As far as I'm concerned, would the government really realistically be able to pay this amount of money? Sorry, I'm being distracted.
No problem at all, Joseph.
They'll be able to deal with this matter and pay the workers the salary. Because you're talking about states. The president has promised that we are going to help states and the states and the local government and the organized private sector to be able to pay this minimum wage. We exactly want to see how that happens. And these are the challenges, because it means that every private worker, every private employer is going to pay 70,000 minimum. Meanwhile, they are battling with high cost of energy. They are battling with inflation and all that. Of cost of production is high. Cost of money, even loaning, taking a loan from the bank is very high. So, of course, realistically, any employer will want to see that, oh, I can only stay in business. Either I'm paying this and sacking people, retrenching people, or I mean, the reality sets in at some point. So we wait to see how this plays out.
All right, Avi, before we leave this story, I know you have your thoughts on the matter really quickly here.
Yes, you know, at the end of the day, I think Labour missed the mark. In the context of looking for numbers, yes, they've gone officially from 30 odd to 70 odd, so they can claim a win. But what has the cost of living increased by? If you have not kept up with the increased cost of living, you have actually lost ground. And with the opportunity that Labour had created, they could have pushed for much more succinct things that would help lower the cost of living, like asking why on earth the refineries keep being the flights of promises and not production. But, you know, they have their numbers. They can go home and crow to their members. And let's see, indeed, like Joseph said, how it will be implemented, both at the federal and state levels, and especially in the private sector. Will it lead to more retrenchment? We'll wait and see.
We will wait and see. All right, let's check out our next story, which is coming out of the Vanguard newspaper. And the headline screams, federal government makes U-turn, sets 16 as minimum age for tertiary institution admission. When this story broke, I had a little bit of a good laugh about it. Anyways, the Education Minister, Professor Tahir Maman, has made a U-turn in his earlier statement where he directed the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, to admit only candidates who have attained the 18 years of age into tertiary institutions. Now, this came out sometime yesterday or thereabouts. The Minister of Education says 18 will be the age, but stakeholders cried out and said that is not going to be feasible. You need to review this. And fortunately, he actually did. And it raised a lot of eyebrows looking at if, number one, if that actually was the best time to actually do that. And also, is that even one of the most pressing things to do when it comes to tertiary education, I beg your pardon, in Nigeria, AB?
As you have teed off, what indeed is the purpose of being a minister of education? There are psychologists who say it is not a bad idea to let a child reach a certain age before they indeed are thrust into the glare of tertiary education. That said, as a minister, your focus should be on creating the context and conditions in those tertiary institutions so that children of 18 and above and those slightly under have the best chance of succeeding. I have to ask a question. Where did this notion come from? Because it's curious. You're at a meeting of stakeholders to do with cutoff marks and everything, and out of seemingly nowhere, you made this announcement. And most importantly, in the story, even though he has supposedly backtracked, a sentence strikes, gets my attention. He said, reacting to that, the minister later accepted the suggestion from stakeholders and said that the law would apply from next year. I may not be educated enough to understand, but are ministers empowered to make laws, or is it the National Assembly of Nigeria that makes laws or even passes executive bills from the president? I'm not aware that the Minister of Education has any power in his job description to make a law. He can make a suggestion, he can carry it to others to consider pros and cons, and then it may be adopted or not. But otherwise, he's entirely taking on too much responsibility that he does not have. He cannot, should not, and cannot be permitted to make laws. He can only suggest to those empowered to do so. At the end of the day, I enter school younger than that age. It's neither here nor there. If a person is able to cope, both academically, psychologically, and any other way, let them, may 1,000 flowers bloom. Focus indeed, Minister, on making the institutions that you are in charge of among, and tertiary is not all, we're talking about secondary and primary, but making sure that those institutions attract people from around the country and around the world. Why do we hear the word Harvard? Why don't we hear it in the same sentence as Ahmadu Bello University? Why is there a gap? Close that gap. That's your primary mandate. Leave the ages of the students, leave their parents to take care of them and put them in the proper place. And then leave the universities to actually create a fostering environment where they can thrive.
That is very, very important.
I have
Joseph.
just a comment to make on this.
All right.
This issue actually it's not the first time it's coming up. In May, the minister flew this kite and mentioned that, they are going to set 18-year minimum admission age for tertiary institutions. And of course, was made by our of stakeholders in the educational sector, just like Ibia said. This is not the focus. This shouldn't be the issue. And then, interestingly, I remember the chairman of the Senate Committee on Education actually came out and said in May that this has been clarified, that the minimum age requirement for any person seeking tertiary education is 16, because the law has not changed. Just like Ibia said, the Senate chairman said it has not changed. Now you have a minister who wasn't even aware. In fact, the context under which he made that statement about 18 just revealed that he doesn't even know the age, the minimum age requirement. In his assumption, he thought it was 18. He didn't know that there was a law that said 16. So now he's saying, more or less, what he's saying is that he is going to, if he was persuading the Senate to change, or the National Assembly to change the law, we don't understand. You go and sponsor a bill asking for a change. Then you come and announce. You don't come and announce a policy on the floor of a stakeholder meeting. So you just wonder, with a professor, for goodness sake.
That is grossly putting the cart before the horse even comes into the picture at all. There's so much more for us to talk about and unpack on Freshly Pressed this morning. On the other side of this quick breather on the show, AB and Joseph still here with us. Freshly Pressed, brought to you by First Bank. We'll be back in a bit.
It's so pathetic, man.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And the law we followed. Who are you to make laws? I just didn't understand that particular sentence. Come on.
Well, I'm sure the legislators will kill that bill.
Yeah, you know why? What is the reason? And have you exhausted your duties as an education minister?
So many things for you to focus on.
Honestly, are all the first generation universities shooting on all cylinders, or are they still going through I heard that, wasn't it University of Benin that closed down because there was no electricity? And then the students demonstrated and they had to close it down. You haven't faced that. You're coming to deal with students who have not yet entered university. Come on, man. Face the one that you need to face. Let parents actually take care. Like a parent can say, my child, you're too young. Go and learn typing. Go and learn fashion. That's a parent's responsibility. I know we're going. Ayo, we're with you. Just tell us.
All right, welcome back to Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It's a feel-good Friday, and it's a feel-good time to be in the studio with you this morning. My name is Ayokunmi, and analysts are still with me on the matters on ground, AB Bozimo, and of course, Joseph Obari. You can be a part of the conversation, as always, by sending your thoughts into us on WhatsApp on 0809 440 981, 0809 440 981. You can also join the live stream on YouTube. It's at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Before we get back into the stories, gentlemen, a couple of messages on WhatsApp. Let me get a few of them out of the way so they don't pile up and, get me like a bow tie at the end of the day. Tayo says, 70K as the new minimum wage. The full tank for my car costs 40,000 naira per week. It's like I'll use vivid imagination to accomplish the task. Indeed, states need to be prioritized. Well, Tayo, a vivid imagination is not a bad thing at the end of the day. Dio says, good morning to the crew. You can see what happened to Ali Ndume as a party loyalist. Can't you criticize the government considering the situation of the country? Is this democracy or imperialism? For the NSAS protests, the killings of innocent people, and some imprisonment. Okay, I'm not sure I agree with this assertion of the conspiracy here. ECOWAS confirmed, this government hates protests. They rather send Agbero's police and the army to intimidate the people and for them not to protest. Is this not a violation of human rights? Like they say, the sinners runneth when no man pursueth. Both the righteous is bold as the lion. Okay, that's a long message, but I'm just summarizing that one there. Dami from Ikeja says, minimum wage, 70,000 naira. A private jet or presidential jets, not private jet as it were, $100 million. I don't know if it's $100 million specifically. The cost of a bag of rice, 78 to 87,000 naira. Congratulations to Nigeria. That is Dami from Ikeja. All right. We'll take some more messages, but we need to get back into the stories making the rounds. And I'm going to stick with you, Joseph, on this one and talk about this particular story coming out of the Vanguard, where the Senate rejects the bill on National Road Transport Council. Now, the bill sought to establish an agency that will be saddled with the responsibility of regulating the road transport and the transportation profession in Nigeria. Joseph, we have the FRC, we have the VIO. What exactly is this all about?
I don't know. Honestly, I think what happens is that you have some members of the National Assembly who are desperate to make a mark or say, I sponsored a bill, I sponsored a number of bills.
So quantity, not quality.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether it makes sense, whether it's thought through properly and is well researched. So, I mean, they pay them so much money. So at least they should be able to hire analysts and researchers who can really dig into the kind of bills that will make sense in our society. We are trying to discourage more bureaucracies of government and making the overburdening the recurrent expenditure of government, and then you
Right.
now all you can think about is to create another level of bureaucracy to manage road transportation in the country. And just like Adam Oshomole rightly said, it is no basis for this. There's no ground for it. When you have road safety, you have VIO, you have police. Police are involved in certain aspects of road traffic management. Their FRS is into road safety and all that. And then you have VIO that is actually concerned with the condition of the vehicle themselves. So what do we need? How do we now need a council to now coordinate these different agencies of government? But I think it's just the desperation. My interpretation is that this is an outcome of the desperation to be seen to be contributing to lawmaking, and it's wrong. That our legislators should be more cerebral. They should be able to get the right kind of people around them. They are paid money to hire aides. Aides who have something upstairs should be those they bring in who can make sense of whatever you think.
Right. It gives me the feeling of a school project where we have students in groups and there are those who are doing the work and those who don't really know what they're doing, but they just want to come across as I contributed to the project.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Let me just do something. That's the feeling that I get from this one. Deji Adiboyega says the Joajero-led NLC is a disaster. In the first place, increase in wages shouldn't be the number one focus. A clarion call or demand for immediate revert to the old pump price of fuel, which happens to be basic need of the masses, should have been a right demand, but they lack understanding and as usual have compromised. No amount of increments of workers' wages will be enough. Even if President Tinubu decided to increase it to 1 million, it will not be enough. He also says it is only an incompetent person, let alone a minister, that will suggest and come up with a ridiculous idea. We have bright minds and children at a tender age doing great things all over the world. Why does someone in person of a minister think anti-clockwise? It is a shame. Okay, AB, I'm coming to you on this next story coming out of the Premium Times, and I will be honest, I don't know how I felt about this one. And it says reps to take salary pay cut for 6 months. Now, the House of Representatives has resolved to take a 6-month salary cut as a sacrifice due to the economic hardship currently experienced by millions of Nigerians. Sacrifice should have been put in inverted commas, in my opinion, on this. But hey, what do you think about this one, AB?
I go further to quote from the story, the pay cut announced by the lawmakers will affect, and I double quote, only their basic salaries, not their allowances, which are significantly more than the basic salaries. In a sea of empty gestures, this may take the height of emptiness. The problem has never been that Nigerians feel that lawmakers should not get paid. No. The problem has never been that Nigerians feel that lawmakers should not even get salaries. No. The problem, from me at least, has been the Nigerian National Assembly is the smallest collection of people paid the most to do the least for the largest population on the surface of planet Earth, in my personal opinion. Meaning, those allowances that they get for furniture, for newspapers, for wardrobe
allowance.
It is presumed that they went to the National Assembly naked and therefore needed clothes. It is presumed that they were homeless while running for office and so need housing. It's presumed that they were pedestrians and so are all awarded cars. Listen, if you are there to serve, and we have examples that we claim we're taking from other countries, democracies, where people are even going as far as riding bicycles, but let's not go as extreme as that. You are in office to serve people. In Washington, D.C., there are states where senators share a building in Washington because they cannot afford to rent mansions. Here we get. So setting aside all that background, they're announcing a pickup for 6 months in their mind, solidarity with the people. All this trying to now tell people not to go on a planned protest. You know, I'm neither here nor there on the protest. I do not want to hear a single life lost or a person harmed by Nigerian security forces because of peaceful, I restate, peaceful protest. But people have a right to peacefully protest if they want. This is an absolutely empty gesture. It means nothing. 648 million over 6 months. How much are they earning over that 6-month period? According to things that they have refused to release, because they could even begin to allay Nigerians' concerns if they honestly release their pay, take-home pay in the public. We have only got hints of it from people like Shehu Sani one time, who said some people earn 13 million. We've heard others as high as 29 million per month. There are so many numbers floating around. They are in the prime position to remove all doubt. So as far as I'm concerned, they should keep their money, because that 648 million compared to the cost of keeping them in what I call the largest single waste of subsidy money. We're subsidizing the lives of the rich and famous in Nigeria in terms of the people in office. So if we remove that subsidy, Nigeria will function much better. That money is not useful to make Nigerians' pain go away. The cost of a bag of rice is over the cost of minimum wage. So don't give me that empty gesture. Make laws, reduce your total take-home pay by 75%, and then we'll be talking.
All right.
That includes allowances, though.
Including allowances. Got you on that one, Ibi. Joseph Menye from Sylvester Nijibu says, let's hope the government's gesture doesn't turn a venture of a spoon of 70,000 naira minimum wage and shovel tactics that policies, charges, and taxes to further diminish the value of the wage, because it's obvious that the government only succumbed because of the planned strike. That's why they quickly implemented an agreement. All right, thank you for your message there, Joseph. Let me see here who's talking to us. Cisco Delgado says, it's Ayo in the studio, Cisco Delgado. Let all the allowances like wardrobe allowance, shoe allowance, laughing allowance, and so on be removed. Forfeiting 6 months is like putting a cup of water in the ocean. Thank you for that, Cisco. Tony from Marine Beach says, salary pay cut sacrifice, gross hypocrisy on the part of legislators. The allowance is the real thing. And let me see here. Fabian from Request says, good morning. I wonder why the government officials cannot be humble enough to accept when they err and backtrack on their decisions. The reps should cut their allowances, and senators as well, to empathize with Nigerians. All right, back to the stories, Amy, because time is just flying like a Gulfstream jet. So we're going to take this story from the Premium Time, still staying there, and you'll be very interested in this one. Nigeria records 22 building collapses and 33 deaths in 7 months. That's according to the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria.
Koren is a key critical stakeholder. in the built environment, alongside with architects. The current is the Council for Regional Engineering in Nigeria. They are always in charge of the structural stability of structures, buildings, bridges, and everything. They, in the built environment, share the national collective loss when recently buildings collapsed in Jos, in Abuja, and even in Osun State. And they have said that a number of building collapses have happened between January and July, and many of them in Lagos. It's no surprise. Lagos is the most economically developed part of the country. Therefore, there's more building going on. It stands to reason that buildings will collapse in terms of proportion or number there. But buildings don't have to collapse. Let's take a step back. If you go into Google, I've not been able to capture any case of building collapse in Dubai. And arguably, there has been more building going on in Dubai than many other parts of the entire world. So it's about how you regulate that environment. Are you using proper professionals, the proper processes, the proper materials, and the proper regulation? I'm just saying we can avoid building collapse avoidable, but it's actually just the final case where a lot of processes have failed and the building eventually drops. They're right. We need to make sure that proper professionals are involved, and there should be sanctions on all people who are involved, who approve the buildings, who is inspecting them, and how are they being used. Sometimes you use the building wrongly from how it was intended. Avoidable deaths have happened with building collapses. There is a way to plug that gap.
All right, thank you for that, AB. Joseph, let's squeeze in one more story and run up with messages here very, very quickly on this one from The Guardian. A bill to establish a local government electoral commission passes first reading. Let's get your take on that one really quickly, Joseph.
I just, when I read the story, I just feel that this is a terrible undermining of what democracy and federalism is. We are creating a unitary system in this country. It's been financially been unitary. Now we are even going to democratic institutions and turning them into unitary systems. We've seen, some of these things are a result of abuses by politicians. And this is a response to that too. The fear is that if you allow governors to control state electoral commissions as what we've seen today, they're like a former chief of staff in River State confessed. They sit down in the chief of staff office and write results for all the local governments, and then they give it to the commission to read. So he said that they call it handout. So these things, the attempt here is to address a problem, but it creates a different problem altogether, because what you're doing is that you're weakening the structure of what federalism should be. And I think it is sad.
All right, thank you for that,
INEC
Joseph.
is there. INEC is there. So why can't INEC do the work?
All right, let's round up with some messages really, really quickly here. Olalekan O says, it's unfortunate the Minister for Education is only good as miseducation. Digi from Isola says, 70,000 naira minimum wage. The cost of living is at its highest. I recharge my electricity with 60,000 naira monthly. What about food and rent? Government should look into prices of food commodities. Thank you for your message. Let me see. Dio says, there's a saying that when a purpose of a thing is not known, abuse or misuse is inevitable. Tell me all the ministers that this government has appointed, which one has worked so far? That is what you get when you put square pegs in round holes. Okay. Ajayi Oloniluwa from Magodo Isheri says a 50% cut in basic salary of House of Rep members is just a ploy to deceive the masses because their salary is nothing compared to the humongous allowances. Thank you for that. And that's all we can take on Freshly Pressed this morning. Big thank you to you, AB and Joseph, for joining me to make some sense of all the stories making the rounds in the papers.
Thank you, Ayo. Great to see you after a long time in your polar gear.
Yes.
Joseph, have a wonderful weekend. Lagos, happy Friday.
Same to you. It'd be great. Ayo, good to see you, really. I'm excited.
Likewise.
It was a beautiful show. And then to the listeners, great time. Stay safe. Everybody stay safe.
All right. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Have a great weekend too. Bye.
All right. Thank you for being a part of Freshly Pressed. The Smooth Breakfast will continue. 8:15. We'll get into the locker room. Tega will be in for that one. Great time as always. I dragged it a little bit more than I should have. All right. Thank you so much, AB. He's out.